Good afternoon. Bit past 4:20 on May 31st, 2017. Jason Bean recording from the edge of my garage and my home in the lovely backwoods of Land O'Lakes. We're experiencing not only an extreme drought, but an extreme heat wave in Florida this year. Temperature at the moment is 95 degrees in the shade, and yes, it is. It was up to 97 earlier. As I say, it's just a bit past 4:20. If I had some herb, I would be blazing, but it's not a habit of mine at present. It's just something I do when I get a chance. But I was a habitual cannabis user for around 40 years. About 5 years ago, I set that aside. When the opportunity presents itself, I still indulge, but it's no longer a part of the priorities of my life. It's not uncommon for me to pick something up and set it down again. I was a coffee drinker for over 20 years. I was a video gamer for about 15 years. I was a comic book collector for about 25 years. You know, things like that I pick up and set them back down again when I feel I'm done with them. At present, I'm trying to stay in the shade and beat the heat. I don't use air conditioning in my home. I probably ought to, considering the heat wave, but at the same time, I'm trying to keep my carbon footprint as low as possible. That's why I go about on foot or on a bicycle. And in this weather, it's best to shelter in place. I would prefer it to be raining, at least then it will be a bit cooler. And I don't mind getting wet, as long as I don't get my phone and certain personal items wet at the same time. But this heat is unpredictable, it's unbelievable, it's uncharacteristic even for Florida at this time of year. We've had plus 90 degree daytime highs for about a month and a half now. It started back in April. And there's been a few days in between that were down into the upper 80s or lower 70s, at least in the mornings. And not much rain, very, very little rain. A lot less than we're accustomed to. I know that the summer storm season begins tomorrow on June 1st, but I have serious doubts that it's going to be on time this year. I think we're going to have a very dry, parched, and hot summer. I hope I'm wrong. A couple of things I'd like to share with you today. I'll begin with this strange little book. Put up in here and see if you can see it. Let me see. You can see it has an embossed cover. And perhaps you can see that the cover says, "I Dare You." This was part of an award I received in about 1972 or 73 from the Pasco County 4-H Club Association. It was an unexpected award. I was up for a couple of others and won those as well. But this one is a book. The author, let me flip it open to remind myself. It's been several years since I've read it cover to cover. A fellow named, it's not on that page. Here we are. I don't think you can see that in this particular setting. Let me put my thumb here. And William H. Danforth, founder and former chairman of the board, Ralston Purina Company. He wrote a series of books, but this was the only one that was in publication at that time. Publication date January of 1972, so I probably got this sometime in spring of 1972. The phrase "I dare you" used to be a challenge in William Danforth's time to do something that was frightening or perhaps even considered impossible. And the phrase isn't used much anymore in common parlance, but it still exists. And these days, if somebody said, "I dare you," you might look at them and say, "Well, you crazy, I ain't gonna do that." Because probably what they were daring you to do is jump off a building with an umbrella for a parachute or something foolish like that. But his concept of "I dare you" was to challenge yourself to be the best you could possibly be in any endeavor in life to which you applied yourself. And I took this to heart at the time. I was probably 13 or 14 years old. I took this to heart and I pushed myself. And I succeeded in a lot of things, not as many as I would have liked to, but yeah, it wasn't because of the book, even though I enjoyed reading it, and I'm proud to still possess it after all these decades. I did it because that's what I do. That's who I am. Also, I'd like to share with you this cover page article from our local newspaper, the Laker/Lutz News. And the photo of this woman, it says, Lutz Gardner cultivates generosity. This woman, Elaine Pittman, was a very good friend of my mother's when she was alive, and working with the Lutz Land Lakes Women's Club. I've done a lot of tree work for her at her property, and she is the kindest and most generous soul you can imagine. I don't think you can get a good enough look at what she has here, but I'm going to try anyway. I'm not getting out in that sun, I'll tell you that much. It's blazing. But what she does is she has a little greenhouse behind her house, and she raises plants for sale for the Lutz Land Lakes Women's Club, and contributes all the funds from those to the Women's Club for the various charitable causes in which they're involved. She is one of the sweetest human beings you could ever meet. She has the soul of an angel, and I guess the angel will want it back when she's done with it, I don't know. But Elaine Pittman is a terrific person, and she had a hard life. Her first husband was physically and mentally abusive. Her second husband died fairly early of cancer, and now she's on her own, but that doesn't stop. It doesn't quash her indomitable spirit. And I do believe that all of us could learn from people like Elaine Pittman, that if we continually apply ourselves to the betterment of others, it betters us as well. Jason Bean, May 31st, 2017, about 4:45 by now. Signing off and wishing you all the best.